6 million years ago, the Earth was a very different world. No cities, no roads, not even the faintest whisper of civilization, just endless plains stretching beneath an unforgiving sun, and the quiet footsteps of creatures who had no idea they were standing at the dawn of humanity. But among the rustle of tall grass and the cries of ancient birds, something extraordinary was beginning to stir, a spark that would one day create art, science, and entire civilizations. This is the story of how life looked before we became human. 6 million years ago, the continents had already taken on a familiar shape: Africa, Asia, Europe, yet the world's face was unrecognizable. North Africa wasn't a sea of golden sand yet. It was lush and green, filled with rivers, woodlands, and grasslands. The Great Rift Valley in East Africa was splitting the continent apart, forming deep lakes and volcanic ridges that would become the cradle of our kind. Climate was shifting, dry seasons growing longer, forests thinning, grasslands spreading, and those changes set off a chain reaction that would sculpt the first steps of human evolution. Where thick jungles once ruled, new open savannas emerged, and in those savannas our ancestors were forced to adapt or die. In this ancient Africa roamed a creature neither ape nor human, Sahelanthropus tchadensis. She stood just about 4 feet tall, covered in hair, her brow heavy, her face flat. At first glance, she might seem like a chimpanzee, but her skull tells another story. Her spine met the skull from below, a clue that she could walk upright. That small adjustment, walking on 2 legs, was the first step toward everything that would follow. No one knew it then, but that tiny evolutionary experiment would reshape the destiny of an entire planet. Yet bipedalism came at a price. Walking on 2 legs was slow, vulnerable. Predators were everywhere: saber-toothed cats, ancient crocodiles, hyenas twice the size of those today. Every shadow could mean death. And yet somehow this early ancestor endured. Imagine dawn breaking over an African plain. The air is cool, the horizon painted orange. A small family group of early hominins emerges from a patch of trees, mothers carrying infants on their backs, juveniles clinging close, adults scanning for danger. They don't have tools yet, no fire, no language. Their survival depends on instinct and cooperation. Breakfast might be a handful of berries, a cracked nut, or the marrow sucked from a scavenged bone left behind by lions. They move often, following the rains, the herds, the trees that still bear fruit. By midday, the heat is brutal. They rest in the shade, grooming one another, picking through each other's fur for parasites, a behavior that bonds them, that builds trust. When night falls, fear returns. They huddle together in trees or caves, listening to the growls of unseen hunters in the dark. For them, every sunrise is a victory. Every night survived is a triumph. While these early hominins fought for survival, the planet itself was shifting beneath their feet. Volcanoes erupted across East Africa, spewing ash and reshaping the land. Massive lakes formed and vanished again. These environmental changes were not background noise. They were the sculptors of evolution. When forests disappeared, apes that once swung through trees had to learn to walk on open ground. When food became scarce, the cleverest, most adaptable individuals survived. And slowly, generation by generation, brains grew larger, hands grew more skillful. From Sahelanthropus would come Australopithecus, and from them, Homo habilis, the handyman, first maker of stone tools. But 6 million years ago, that was still a dream waiting in the bones of time. Our ancestors weren't alone. The earth was alive with beasts we can only imagine. Gigantic elephant-like creatures with 4 tusks, gomphotheres. Enormous apes like Gigantopithecus, towering up to 10 feet tall. Horses with 3 toes, tiny sharp-eyed antelopes darting through tall grass. And lurking near the rivers, crocodiles so massive they could swallow a grown human whole. Predators ruled the night, and the balance between hunter and hunted was razor-thin. It was this constant tension, this daily dance with death, that forged human resilience. 6 million years ago, no one could have guessed what that small, upright ape would become. No fire, no language, no tool, and yet inside those fragile skulls lay a secret waiting to ignite. Curiosity. The impulse to explore, to touch, to understand. The very spark that would one day lead to art, agriculture, and rockets breaking through the sky. Every innovation we've ever made, every city, every story, every song, can trace its lineage back to these fragile beginnings. To the moment when an ape took its first uncertain steps into a future it could never imagine. When we look back 6 million years, it's easy to see only bones, dust, and fossils. But those bones tell a story of survival, adaptation, and courage. The world they lived in was harsh, yet from it emerged the greatest survivor of all, us. We are the descendants of those who endured droughts, predators, and unimaginable challenges. Their struggles, written in the earth, remind us that humanity was born not in comfort, but in perseverance. 6 million years ago, the first spark of what it means to be human flickered to life. And though the world has changed beyond recognition, that spark still burns. In every act of curiosity, every leap of courage, every dream that reaches beyond the horizon. Because before we built the world, we learned to survive it.